Legislators have been joining us throughout the course of the morning. We're joined once by another one from Capitol Hill, Representative Jan Schakowsky, Senior Chief Deputy Whip, Democrat from Illinois. Representative Schakowsky, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
How did this past election do when it comes to progressives within the House?
Well, progressives, I think, made a lot of progress in the last Congress. We're continuing to do so as we move through the end of the session, you know, I think we're going to continue to do so even after it looks like the Republicans will have a teeny tiny majority in the House of Representatives.
How do you think that's going to work as far as pushing an agenda forward, or at least pushing your leadership to make changes to its current agenda?
Well, first of all, let me just say that as the chairman of the Consumer Protection Subcommittee, I've had unanimous support from the Republicans to move things. So there's going to be a number of things that we're going to still, I believe, be able to do to protect consumers online, their privacy, et cetera, when it comes to the internet. So, you know, it's not all about the huge issues. But in the meantime, I think the Republicans, you know, look, in the House right now, we only have about a small majority as Democrats. They're going to have perhaps even a smaller majority, and yet they're going to have trouble even getting their leadership team together. So I think it's going to take a while for it to settle down after, you know, we come back in January.
One of those things that you talked about, Ms. Schakowsky, one of those issues that you push, particularly over the last couple of weeks, has been reported, is your interest in hearing answers from Twitter, particularly when it comes to data, when it comes to privacy. What are your concerns?
Oh, I'm very concerned about Twitter. Right now, we've seen the firing of a lot of people from the Twitter staff, people who have been looking into what the content has done. We have seen Musk say that you know, he has no interest at all that I can see in regulating what goes on Twitter. It's a private company now, giving the public sector, giving government even less control over what it does. I think we are seeing people fleeing Twitter because there's no trust in Musk's leadership there.
And so what would you like to see? You only have, if what you say is true, you only have a few more weeks within your committee to work as its leadership. But what would you like to see a Republican-led committee do when it comes to the practices of Twitter?
Well, look, what we have to do come next session of Congress is say that we want consumers to have confidence that when they go online, be it on social media, be it to make transactions online, that they're going to be protected, that their rights are not going to be violated, that their information, their personal information isn't going to be stolen. We're going to have to make sure, and I think we can do that together, because consumers, Republicans and Democrats, feel no confidence when they go online that their privacy is protected and that the information that they're receiving is really accurate.
Representative Schakowsky, what are issues of importance to you in this lame duck session before January? What do you want to see your Congress, or at least those on your side, do before then?
So really the top line issue is getting the appropriations bill done. You know, it's very, very important. If we don't get it done by December 16th, that's the day that a so-called you know, resolution runs out and we will not have a funded government, we can't go to another shutdown. And so the challenge is going to be in the House and in the Senate, where we're going to have to get at least 10 votes from the Republicans that we pass an appropriations bill and keep the government running. That's the top priority that we have right now.
And then going forward, we've heard from the course of the morning about the concerns over the debt ceiling and that vote, and that has to be taking place, and what Republicans might want in exchange for a rising of the debt ceiling. What are your concerns?
Well, we would like to be able to raise the debt ceiling. You know, we're the only country, I think, in the world right now that says every year we have to say, oh yes, we will pay the bills that have already been incurred by the government. That's really what it is. I think people get mistaken to think, oh, we're just adding to the deficit or we're just spending more money. No, these are funds that have already been expended. So I'm hoping that we actually can move ahead and raise the debt ceiling now. I know there's still negotiations going on. Everything is kind of a little bit fraught right now, but I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement in the next few days.
Representative Schakowsky, if Republicans do take power come January, they're dealing with their own leadership elections. Do you think there's a need for change for leadership on the Democratic side?
Well, you know, we haven't heard yet from Nancy Pelosi, but I do want to say, I think of all the people, and even in all the history of being the leader in the Congress, that Nancy Pelosi really knows how to navigate the complexities. And so if she decides to stay and run, I'm going to be with her.
Has she told you, or at least indicated to you personally, that that's going to be her intention?
No, I haven't heard. We actually expect that we may know something in the next day or two.
Talk a little bit then about what you're looking forward to as far as this new Congress coming in these days and weeks ahead.
Well, I am looking forward to the new Congress coming in. I am hoping that we can all settle down, that we can agree on things that we can do for the American people, stop the infighting that has been going on among the Republicans and among the attacks that we have seen. I don't think that the announcement by Donald Trump as a candidate for president makes the peace closer to reach. I think it may actually complicate the situation. I think it may divide the Republicans even more. So I'm just hoping that we can all just settle down and agree that our job is to protect and help the American people. There's so much still to be done.
And how does that job go forward if Kevin McCarthy does become House Speaker?
Well, you know, I have no idea who's going to be House Speaker. You saw that within the Republican conference itself, he was unable to get the votes that he needs. Is there anyone right now that can get sufficient number of votes on the floor of the House, meaning you have to get a majority on the floor in order to be the Speaker of the House? So I think that's the next challenge that the Republicans are facing. Unclear right now.
Representative Jen Schakowsky, Democrat from Illinois. She serves as the Senior Chief Deputy Whip, also the Chair of the Consumer Protection and Commerce Subcommittee. Thanks for your time.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll continue on with